Hi, I'm Jim, here to walk with you through the healing journey after a relationship with an emotionally avoidant partner. If you've ever loved someone who kept you at arm's length, left you questioning your worth despite your wholehearted love, this video is for you. Not to teach revenge, and not to break someone down, but to help you reclaim the emotional self-respect and strength you once handed away. I know the pain of always being the one to reach out, to fix, to hold it all together, while the other pulls away and leaves you spinning. I've been there too, but I've learned this. What hits an avoidant the hardest isn't confrontation. It's the calm, grounded silence of someone who's no longer dancing in their emotional game. In this video, I'll share 7 silent strategies, not to manipulate, but to liberate. These moves don't violate fair use. I don't repeat original content verbatim. Instead, I offer my own insights and interpretations so you can apply them in a healthy, transformative way to your life. If you've ever obsessed after the breakup, hoping they'd realize your worth and come back, this video will show you another path, one of peace, sovereignty, and not needing them to do anything anymore. Hit subscribe and stay till the end, because you might not be the same person by the time it's over. 1. Cold as ice. When you stop trying to fix the connection. Here's something you need to know. Avoidants don't control through words, they control through withdrawal. And paradoxically, the more they pull away, the closer you step. You learn about their traumas, you excuse their absence, you think if you love hard enough, they'll finally let you in. But no one tells you this. An avoidant doesn't learn intimacy from your patience. They learn when you stop. This stopping isn't dramatic. It's not a silent treatment meant to provoke. It's what happens when your soul is genuinely tired. When you see yourself fading away in the effort to hold together a connection that's always one-sided. So you step back, not out of anger, but because you no longer want to beg for love dressed as ambiguity. Ironically, this is the moment they feel it most, because an avoidant is used to you maintaining the connection. When your silence becomes real, no reaching out, no emotional check-ins, no excuses to re-engage, that quiet begins to crack the armor they thought was impenetrable. This cold-as-ice silence isn't heartless, it's dignity. It's what someone sounds like after they've given, waited, and seen the truth. It's not a tactic, it's awakening. And it leaves the avoidant wondering, even if they never say it out loud, is she not waiting for me anymore? 2. Silent non-response when they test the waters. Let them taste the ambiguity they sowed. After you've stepped back and withdrawn, avoidants often test the waters by scattering subtle signals, liking an old story, sending a hey text, or a casual check-in as if nothing ever happened. Notice they're not reconciling with an apology or showing signs of change, they're simply checking if you're still there. Before, each of those signals pulled you into a familiar pattern, overthinking, longing, leaning in to support and connect. This time, though you choose silence, you see the message, you notice the like, but you don't feel the pull, you don't respond. There's no judgment or drama, just absolute stillness with purpose. This silence isn't weakness, it's strength speaking volumes. You're not blocking them or lashing out, you're simply stating, if you want to reconnect, I'm not here to provide emotional fuel for your instability, but I'm not going to rebuild the bridge with crumbs either. That's when they have to face the truth. Is she really gone? Not in anger, but in peaceful finality. Avoidants usually control by keeping things uncertain. Now they're facing your certainty. Your silence becomes the strongest reset. There's no need to prove you're not mad. You don't have to like their post to show you're okay. You don't need to block them to make a point. Your choice to not exist in their narrative is louder than any reaction. Interestingly, they might come back again looking for that reactionary jolt. But the silence is more disorienting than confrontation. It leaves them with nothing to grab onto. They're used to you being the touchstone. Now they're confronted with emptiness. And more importantly, they can no longer drag you back into the loop. Imagine this. They open your profile, expecting validation, but see no likes, no comments, no trace. They're met with nothing, no drama, no rejection, just your deliberate absence. That void is their mirror, and it makes them shake. This isn't about crushing someone, it's about reclaiming your energy and autonomy. I won't be a resource for your ambivalence anymore. 3. You glow up without proving anything, shining unaffected in a way avoidance can't ignore. After you've mastered silent non-response, You create a space of quiet, but this space needs light your light. This is where you glow up not for anyone's validation, but for yourself. Avoidants are used to you trying to prove, subtly or not, I'm okay, I'm even happier now, through flashy social posts or polished updates. They comfort themselves with those signs, believing you never left emotionally. Now, you're living authentically. If they see it, fine, but it's not performance. You share because you feel it, not to elicit their attention. You smile freely with friends, not waiting for their approval. Your glow isn't in likes, it's in consistent inner peace. If they scroll your feed, they might see simple coffee shots, an unfinished book, a candid laugh. No intentional hashtags, no dramatic story. This understated presence becomes a brightness they can't delete. It says, she's living on her own terms. This erodes a core belief in avoidance, that your happiness depends on them. Once that cracks, when they sense your joy without them, they lose their emotional anchor. This glow up isn't dramatic. You're not flaunting growth or achievements. You're quietly bettering your self-reading, walking, reconnecting with nature and values. It's a daily choice to fill inner spaces authentically. You wear your growth like a comfortable coat, visible, yet naturally you. In this silent glow, you send the strongest message. You are unshakable, not there to be captured. They may wonder, but they cannot take it back. They can't hold on to you like before. Glow up is your statement of independence. Your life shines outside their influence, and if they are watching, they'll feel the void that once held them central. 4. Not showing up during their crisis. You're no longer their emotional safety net. When an avoidant is in emotional turmoil, they often come back to you, because you've been the person they return to, the safe place where they don't have to open up, where explanations aren't needed, and you'd always be there. No matter how exhausted you were always ready to support them. But now, you've realized that healing doesn't happen if you continue to be the emotional sponge for someone else. Not showing up during their crisis isn't an act of hatred, it's intentional care for yourself. It means you've understood that healing can't flourish if you keep absorbing someone else's pain. If you step back in, you risk slipping back into that old role where you sacrifice yourself as a healer and lose sight of your own needs. You no longer rush to answer their help me messages. You don't parachute into their emotional spiral. You don't block them or pretend to be everywhere at once. You simply don't appear. You might read their messages, but you don't reply. You know they're crying, but you don't fill their inbox. You see them collapse, but you don't swoop in to fix. You respect they have to grow on their own. Staying absent doesn't make you cold. You're not dismissing their pain, you're choosing to preserve your own peace. By not showing up this time, you give them back the chance to heal themselves. If they could reply to you, they wouldn't have any reason to learn and grow. You're encouraging their autonomy. You watch the night pass while they struggle. You remain calm as they seek comfort you no longer provide. You don't silence them with judgment or sarcasm, you simply step aside. You withhold nothing because they're unworthy. You withhold because we all need to cease being our own savior. Now is the time you reclaim that role for yourself. In staying quiet, you're saying, I'm no longer your emotional blanket. And they, though they may not say it, feel it. Their comfort is gone. This time, they must face their fear, their emotions, their discomfort alone, not with you saving them. This is your turning point. You slough off the healer identity and reclaim your own story. A story not written by others, but defined by your choice to honor your own journey rather than being pulled into someone else's beings. 5. Vanishing from their role as your emotional mirror when you stop reflecting them. When someone with an avoidant attachment style forms a relationship, they often expect you to be their emotional mirror, someone who reflects their best self back at them. You become the silent supporter, even if the emotional investment isn't reciprocated. They lean on your admiration to feel validated, without giving much in return. That mirror gives them comfort and a sense of security, even when they physically step back. But what happens when that mirror is taken away? That's when the power of silence truly shines through, not as a punitive tactic, but as a refusal to continue enabling the emotional imbalance. You stop nodding along with everything they say. You no longer mirror the idealized version of their stories. When they post about their latest achievement, you don't comment, amazing, or so proud of you. You simply remain silent, meaningful silence that says you're no longer swept away by the role you once played. You see the reality without judging it. If they return with a new project or an exciting anecdote, you observe and not engage. No likes, no shares, no comments. The mirror is gone. And for the first time, they face emptiness, not echoing cheers. No spotlight, just quiet stillness. Often, you don't even sever connections entirely. You don't block or unfollow. You remain invisible without drawing attention. Any interaction left is not about the myths, about your own calm, centered self. In that moment, the avoidant must confront a new reality. There's no one left to reflect their self-worth. There's no admiring eye to affirm them. Now, they have to look inward to face that void of unmet emotional investment. They may awkwardly try again, commenting something half-hearted, complimenting you. But the mirror is gone. And if you stay silent, you're showing them, I am no longer a character in your story. Without uttering a word, you've established the most powerful boundary, one where your emotional world is no longer their stage. The mirror is gone. They have no reflective safety net. Now, they must reflect on themselves, ask, do I truly matter if no one's standing in my corner? At this stage, you're not just protecting your own heart, you're signaling to yourself and any observer, you choose to consume your own positivity, not reflect it for someone else. 6. Closing the emotional loop without needing closure from them. You've journeyed through silent strength, non-response to their probes, quiet self-growth, resisting being their emotional crutch, and dropping out of their reflection. Now it's time to close your internal emotional loop without waiting for their closure. Avoidants often end relationships in an abrupt, ambiguous way, leaving an escape route for themselves. They don't say, this is over, they simply withdraw, leaving you with unanswered questions and hope. They let you probe, but refuse to commit. And you, driven by deep care and wanting resolution, can easily fall into that trap, longing for a final conversation, a neat conclusion. But the truth is, closure is an illusion if it depends on someone unwilling to face themselves. At this stage, you step into true maturity not through words, but through the power of self-determination. You say to yourself, I understand, I let go, this is over. No need for long messages, no need for their apology or admission. You write the final letter for yourself, goodbye, acceptance, and the hard decision to turn the page. This is when you reclaim agency. Before, they controlled the narrative, when to retreat, when to return. Now, who decides the end? You do, and you don't make a show of it. You don't need one last dramatic scene. You don't demand a final hug to release your emotions. You release them yourself. And you let go. Ironically, when you close quietly, that's when they feel the loss most. They can't predict your next move. They can't drag your feelings back into the storm, because this is no longer about both of you. It's your story about standing up after beautiful endings and not crumbling when no one reciprocates. You lock the door even if they don't turn the key. You may still glance at times and feel a gentle sadness, a touch of regret, but you realize it was a choice to love yourself enough not to beg for closure, a choice to build a life that does not depend on them. And that is the deepest, broadest closure you can give yourself. 7. Vanishing from the digital space. No drama, no announcement, just decisive silence. If you've journeyed through the first 6 steps from icy silence to quiet glow-up, reclaiming your power, this final move marks the true beginning of a new, liberated chapter. This is the crucial step. Disappearing from their digital world, not in explosive anger or public drama, but in calm, intentional withdrawal. You don't delete your account or post a farewell. You simply stop engaging with their posts, messages, or stories. Don't view their stories to avoid leaving traces. No likes, no comments, no hearts, no covert checking to see how they're doing. This digital silence isn't about appearing aloof. It's the clearest signal. I no longer exist in your emotional universe. They lose the certainty that you're still out there, the reassurance they relied upon before. This isn't petty vindictiveness or an outburst of hurt. It's the choice of someone who knows their worth. You don't block out of spite. You don't leave passive, aggressive breadcrumbs. You simply vanish like an inevitable natural cycle. That silence is autonomous. It gives them the blank canvas to confront that they no longer hold your narrative. The strange power of absence is that it shatters the illusion that they still have influence over you. Before, a story share, A like or a comment meant you cared. It provided their sense of control. Now, with no imprint left behind, the avoidant comfortable with stepping away now faces their deepest fear, a genuine, ungeared disconnection. This move is for your soul to reclaim stillness, long disrupted. You reclaim your digital space. You craft an environment untouched by their presence. You stroll through new chapters, free from old traces, and realize, my online life doesn't need the man that feels incredible. You're not interested in online dramas, emotional reactions, or anything they might stage. Because you're living life on your terms, and if they ever glimpse your calm confidence, they realize you've grown, not that they've won. Transition to the conclusion. Pulling away from the digital sphere doesn't just disconnect you from the avoidant, you reconnect with yourself. In the final part, we'll revisit the power of these 7 silent moves to recognize the you of today, steady, whole, and free from anyone's shadow. If you've walked through all 7 silent steps with me, from conscious withdrawal to digital disappearance, you are no longer who you used to be. You're not the one clinging to answers, needing to be seen, or desperate to keep a connection that only drained you. You are now someone who knows when silence is power, not to punish, but to protect yourself. This journey isn't about defeating someone, it's about reclaiming your energy from where it wasn't honored and investing it back into yourself. Your silence isn't weakness, it's rebirth. It's a powerful declaration. I don't need you to define my worth. And if there's anything that makes an avoidant truly feel the loss, it's not your anger, heartbreak, or chasing. It's the peace you found when you no longer depended on them. They never thought you'd stay silent this long, never believed you could stop, never imagined you'd leave without turning back. But you did, and that's where your power comes alive. I'm Jimand. I've been honored to walk beside you in this awakening. If you saw yourself in this story, if you're learning to walk with self-respect, if your silence is not about revenge but about peace, you are not alone. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who needs it, and tell me in the comments, which of the 7 silent moves are you living through right now? Remember, peace isn't loud. Peace is when you no longer need to be understood because you understand yourself. And sometimes, the deepest regret comes when someone realizes they lost a person who no longer needs them.